Good afternoon, everyone. We are about 1 minute to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcoming all of you into the excuse me, into the room for the No Hold webinar today. So take a seat, get comfortable, grab a drink, grab a snack. We're going to probably start about a minute or two after the hour. Lots of people are streaming in right now, so I want to give everybody the chance to get ready for an exciting webinar on AI today. So hello, everyone. I'm Liz Mancini. I am the Senior Manager of Member Services for AAPA. Welcome to today's webinar, Leverage AI to Keep Your Port Moving Forward with No Hold. Today's session will highlight the impact and value of artificial intelligence, is known as AI, in ports. Drawing from 20 plus years in the conversational AI space, this session is designed to help ports improve customers' digital experience and maximize the value of operator-tenant offerings across Port Authority facilities. Also learn about protecting privacy while allowing for operational responsiveness and high-quality customer experience. We'll also dig into providing deeper insights into aggregate operational and customer behavior, and also, last but not least, maximize your revenue. We are excited to hear what our presenters Diego Ventura and Tony Callahan and their special guest have to share with us today. NOHOLD develops interactive and diagnostic AI-based virtual assistants that enhance the customer experience. NOHOLD's web-based self-service products are ideal for companies seeking intelligent, cost-effective, automated knowledge management solutions. NOHOLD reduces dependence on expensive call centers, increases customer satisfaction, and enhances your customers' access to products and services, all while delivering an unparalleled return on investment. We will be happy to take your questions at any time during the presentation, so feel free to post your questions in the chat or questions area as you think of them. Also, be aware, excuse me, during the presentation, we will also be launching a few polls to the audience, so keep an eye out for them. So let's get started. I will go ahead and turn it over to our speakers, Diego and Tony. The mic is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, Liz, and welcome everybody. We're looking forward to go through these few minutes with you. We have set up about an hour. I think actually we'll be able to go through the material much faster than that, but we want to leave some time for questions. So let me start by sharing with you the speaker. So there is going to be me, Diego Ventura. I'm the CEO and founder of NOHOLD, and then with me I have Tony.
Hi, I'm Tony Callahan. I'm an account manager here at NOHOLD.
And then we're going to have also Blair. And I don't know if Blair is online already.
She might still be logging in.
Everybody.
Okay. Oh, hi, Blair. All right. We'll have an opportunity to all introduce ourselves a little bit more in a second. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence. We're going to provide you with a demo. Also discuss some use cases applicable to your industry, some implementation consideration, and again, open it to Q&As. So before we start, I wanted to share something with you. So number one, who I am and what do we do? So I've been doing this now for about 25 years, so since before artificial intelligence were popular. I've been an instructor for the California Berkeley continuing education system. This is my second company focusing only on artificial intelligence since the very beginning. So what we have done, we have created a platform. It's called Sicura, and it leverages deterministic AI, generative AI. We will explain what the difference is to essentially create an AI assistant, or chatbots sometimes they're referred to. We like to describe them as AI assistant, as they are a little bit more intelligent, more interactive, more diagnostic. The platform is patented, it's compliant and secure, award-winning. So this is a little bit of the patting on our back, but we've been doing this for a long time. So let me, however, give you also a perspective, so that you know that I'm not some crazy guy that is only investing in the technology. It's very important for us what's going to happen to the next generation. These are 4 of my 5 grandkids. The 5th one is too small, too young to play soccer. And I'm sharing this picture to share with you the fact that we're very interested in making sure that whatever we build is good for the next generation. There is a lot of talk about artificial intelligence. Is it dangerous? Is it not dangerous? Is it going to take all our jobs, etc.? So this webinar in part is about sharing with you what we know, so that you also feel more comfortable potentially implementing something for your organization, knowing that it's going to be good for the next generation. So I mentioned a couple of terms, and I want to make sure I define them so we all know what we're all on the same page. I mentioned AI assistant. That's what we do. I have an animation there that shows you what an AI assistant can be. Ours tend to be, the reason why we don't call them chatbots is because they tend to be a little bit more interactive diagnostic with multi-turn conversation, meaning that the interaction that you have with this AI assistant resemble more the type of interaction that you would have with a human. They're not simply just questions and answers. So they're conversation, they're diagnostic, they can guide you through a procedure. So that is, as a first definition, AI assistant versus chatbots that you may have encountered, in other platforms. The other terms that I want to define is deterministic AI versus generative AI. So deterministic AI is really focused on extracting content from a corpora of data, right? And what's happening here, really the AI is just helping you find that piece of information within that content, that corpora of data. And so even as long as you have questions that are semantically equivalent, so meaning that they're essentially the same question, even if it's formulated in different ways, the answer is always going to be the same. And the answer is an extract of the content that you have provided to train the system. The system is not going to be able to generate something on its own. So that's why it's called deterministic, because I can determine that given the question, I'm going to get that answer. We then also have generative AI, which is different. And the classical example is ChatGPT, right? Where yes, you have used a corpora of data to train the system, but the answer being produced by the system is ex novo. It's something that it's obviously related to the training material, but the answer cannot be specifically determined because the algorithm has come up with an answer. And so even if you're asking questions that are semantically the same, the answer can be different. So these are the two different terms, and we're going to keep them in mind as we go through the presentation. Which, by the way, my presentation is not going to be super technical, so don't worry, we're not going to be talking about math and algorithm. We're more than anything else talking about why does this matter, why should we talk about it, and how does it apply to a port authority, for example. So why does it matter? Well, because more and more in the future, and this is not just for port authority, organization, companies in general, they will want to speak their own truth, right? They will want to have an AI assistant that has been trained with their own content, with their own principles, so that the answer provided are consistent with the company line, with what that company stands for. The other thing is it matters because we finally want to provide an experience for an end user that goes beyond frequently asked question and searches from a search engine from the 90s, right? It's time to have something more intelligent that makes our life easier. I want to find information on my own terms based on how I perceive the need for that information. All this is going to make organization more efficient. And we have a company right now that, for example, is using this within a call center, and it's primarily for the agents, right? So the agents now, even with minimal training, can answer questions much more effectively because they have this body that is helping them with providing the right answer. Another value of artificial intelligence in general, this kind of system, is understanding systematically the voice of the public, the voice of your audience, right? Because every single interaction is recorded, and so it can be evaluated, it can be processed, so that you can find patterns about what people are interested in, what people are interested in that we don't have an answer for, and adjust your processes accordingly. The other thing, that are other more general reason of why this matter, it's a matter of embracing this new technology that it will really change our lives. I mean, you know, I'm old enough that I lived through the personal computer revolution, and then the internet technology wave, and this one with artificial intelligence is at the same level, if not an even higher or bigger level, because the implications are so much bigger. And it's something good to expose your staff, to have the ability to have your staff involved. And this concept of obviously not wanting to be left behind is very important, and looking at these as this is not something that is going to take my job away, but you know, I'm adding resources, I'm making your job easier, I'm helping you achieving your goals faster and easier with this additional technology that is there 24/7, speaks multiple languages, and can be trained on an incredible amount of data. So I wanted to share this with you because in my mind, this is why learning more about artificial intelligence is important. So we have the first polling question, so let's see how this is going to work. And the question is, when it comes to artificial intelligence, what are your biggest concerns, unknowns, right? Are they around security? Are they around the use cases, meaning, can these really be applied to what I do every day or what my company does every day? Are you concerned about cost, implementation, or anything else? So we'd love to hear from you. I'm going to give you a few seconds to provide answers in the mechanism that we're using to poll this. And then we'll move on to the next slide.
Yep, Diego, we're going to wait another 30 seconds for responses.
Okay, very good.
And then I'll close. And we're almost. Okay, close.
All right. Yep. Thank you. Thank you all for participating. And actually, this is a good segue to switch to Tony, who is going to tell us a little bit more about use cases. So please give me a moment for switching screens here. So I'm going to stop my sharing.
Thanks so much. And I need to be the presenter here. So let me just assign myself really quickly.
Who's the presenter right now?
It was saying Diego, but I think I'm doing the right thing.
Okay, great.
Hopefully.
Gotcha.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to talk about some common use cases for AI assistance, but before we jump in, I want to give a moment for our guest speaker to say a few words. So I want to introduce you all to Blair Wegesheed. She is a manager of port efficiency at the Port of New York and New Jersey. We met her at the AAPA conference in Denver a few months ago and got to learn about some of their initiatives that they're working on, which she'll share with you a little bit. And Blair, when you're ready.
Thanks so much, Tony, and appreciate being able to join you and Diego today. Hi, everyone. As Tony mentioned, I'm Blair Wegescheid. I'm the manager of port efficiency at the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. For those that are not aware, the Port Authority serves as the landlord for the Port of New York and New Jersey, which is the largest port on the US East Coast. So we serve as a gateway to one of the most concentrated consumer markets in North America, and our ability to get goods into the hands of consumers is really what gives us our competitive edge. So our port team, as Tony mentioned, had the pleasure to meet with NOHOLD at the AAPA annual convention last fall, and were provided with an opportunity to learn more about how AI solutions can improve operations and communication at maritime and supply chain facilities. So specifically for us, one of the Port of New York and New Jersey's major priorities continues to be customer experience, which we relate to initiatives specific to the dray truck drivers' experience here at the port, and all of their connections as well to the terminal operators and the regional warehouse and distribution center providers. So learning more about AI's potential in communication and trucker resource dissemination, both through some of our paper resources, Truck Service Center, as well as all of our website and information that we disseminate on various channels, really provided valuable insight to our team and continuing to deliver customer-focused priorities with emerging technology. So I just wanted to thank AAPA for providing that opportunity for ports and port authorities to explore some of AI and emerging technologies alongside it that are becoming essential to maintaining cargo fluidity. So with that, we're looking forward to hearing more from NOHOLD, and I will turn it back over to you, Tony. Thank you again.
Thanks so much, Blair. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with us and tell us a little bit about what's going on at your port. So as I mentioned, these are some of the use cases that we're a little bit more used to. So typically when a company is thinking about deploying an AI assistant, sometimes they choose to deploy it internally first. That can help employees handle HR, provide correct information to customers for support. It can act as a sidekick and a sales and marketing companion to engage with lead qualification and lead generation. These AI assistants can act as sales experts, support members, and as a guiding hand for onboarding processes. Now, one of the benefits that's often overlooked is the data that deploying an AI assistant collects that allows businesses to capture the voice of the user in their own words. So by leveraging AI, we usually expect to see results of about 35 to 60% self-service and an increase in 2 to 4 NPS score points. And if you're not familiar with NPS, it's just a measure of customer satisfaction. And as a matter of a little bit of background, how we became involved in the government and eventually the port space started back during the pandemic when the California DMV, like every other state agency, had to suddenly shut down all of its offices and really quickly find a way to keep serving California drivers remotely. We started with one simple AI assistant deployed in a matter of weeks, and in the past few years post-pandemic, the project has grown to include 5 AI assistants and counting. Our flagship assistant is called Service Advisor. It's on their website and answers their phone. It acts as a concierge to answer customer questions and guide customers to self-service options. This assistant is now handling about 4 million users monthly. And as you can see in this graph here, it's significantly lightened the load of calls and emails for the DMV staff. So as I said, we had the opportunity to attend that conference back in the fall, and we got to talk with many port professionals who were kind enough to share some of their ideas on ways they think AI could help them with challenges they're currently facing at their ports. Now, we heard a variety of ideas from helping port visitors troubleshoot their TWIT cards or access safety guides and procedures instantly to new ways to leverage and easily interpret existing data to improve efficiency. Now, taking a look at these 4 use cases, we'd love to open up another poll and ask you what might be the most relevant if any of these challenges are something you've been discussing in your report. And we'll open up the poll here and give you some time to take a vote. Responses still trickling in. Thank you, appreciate it.
Yep, another few seconds. We'll close this poll.
Anyways.
All right, closing.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for participating. We appreciate that. So next, we're going to take a look at how generative AI can address one of these use cases ports may be facing with an assistant trained on some brief content from a port's website in just under a minute. So I'm going to switch over to our demo here. All right, so this is Jenna. She's our generative AI virtual assistant. And as you can see, I have the side panel open just to help us get a little bit of an understanding of how it works. So this is, the name of the agency. These are the files we've used to train the AI assistant. They're just going to be PDF files from the website. So I'm going to go ahead and start asking her a few questions. The first question is going to say, I'm a trucker coming to the port. What do I need to have when I get to the gate? So I'm going to click enter, and when she gives us the answer, you're going to see that summarizing everything truckers coming to this gate need to know. Each terminal at ports has different consequences for violating safety procedures. We were reading that even if you were just not wearing a safety vest, you could be banned from the port for 2 weeks, and that that's a critical matter of safety. It's really important for these truckers to have clarification on varying procedures for everyone's safety, but also for the smooth operation of the port. I'm also going to ask about those TWIC cards when I say, my TWIC card isn't working right now. And the fun of generative AI is that you don't have to verb your inputs as questions. You can sometimes be a little bit more vague and just make a statement, but it's able to apply and still give you the answer. It's going to give us the phone number here so we can solve our problem instantly, which is great. I can ask her to do a little bit more generative work when I say, I'm an independent operator frequently coming to the port. Am I eligible for the truck replacement program? How long will it take to receive the new truck? So in this query, I'm saying 2 questions as well as giving some details about my personal situation. It's able to retain what context is important from what I said and give me the content it's trained on an answer that's relevant. So even if I'm giving it a little bit of fluff information that may or may not be relevant, it's able to sort through that for me and tell me what I need to know. For additional clarifications on port processes and procedures, I can say which terminals are by appointment only. And as you can see, it'll give me a list of those. I'm also going to ask some follow-up questions when I say, can I make an appointment at this terminal for containers that are still on a vessel? This is asking about policies of a specific terminal, which is really useful because these questions no longer would need to come to the port staff, who then would need to redirect the question to the appropriate terminal. Instead, it can just be handled automatically by AI, which would allow everything to run a little bit more smoothly if there's not as much of a game of telephone happening. And I'm going to ask her about another error message when I say, registry. Here we go. When I say I'm trying to enter at the access point and I received an error saying truck not found in truck registry. This is a good example of the deterministic AI that Diego was talking about earlier. When it does need to give an exact specific answer, it is able to do so. There's probably only one answer to this error, so it's able to give us that exact answer. And that's why we always recommend a blend of generative and deterministic. I can also switch back to some generative items here when I say, tell me about this program, how do I participate? I'm asking it to give me some details and tell me how I can participate in it. And as you can see, it's giving me a link and some questions for next steps. So in this demo, what you can see is that this is an idea of current capabilities. And what we always recommend is combining deterministic and generative AI. This helps establish these really essential barriers to prevent hallucinations. This is really crucial for our clients that are in the government, finance, and healthcare space where security and compliance are critical. And agencies have an opportunity to leverage AI to enhance efficiency and better serve their customers, but we always recommend this combination rather than solely generative AI to ensure compliance. And in the next section, Diego is going to elaborate a little bit more on some key things to know about AI and explain why these differences are important to understand when thinking about deploying AI anywhere. And I'll go ahead and make him the presenter. All right, Diego, I've switched you over to presenter.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Tony. I think great presentation, great demo. And also thank you, Blair, for your intervention. It's always good to hear from practitioners in the field. Yeah, one interesting detail about the demo that Tony shared is that there is also a an easy way to encourage adoption, like, because to bring up an AI assistant, all you would have to do is display QR codes around the port, right? And trackers, or any visitor could just scan the QR code, the AI assistant comes up, and suddenly they can ask any question they want about your port facility and learn how to move around. So good demo, thank you. What I wanted to talk about, just spend two slides more about artificial intelligence in general. And I think it's important, not just for academic reason, but for the reason of understanding what we have learned or heard about large language models, right? What do they mean? What are the implications of using one? There are a lot of people are kind of, I don't want to say scared, but hesitant about using them because they're concerned that there are going to be issues. So I want to kind of give you, let you know what I know, so that hopefully you'll feel a little bit more comfortable moving forward. And so with that said, let me share with you. So what are large language models? You might have heard of these. Hugging Face is just one of the many companies or many websites that basically lists large language model. And this is just a screenshot of their website. So you can see here a list. These are all large language model. And what a large language model is in physical terms, it's typically a file or a couple of files. And the file is a binary file, and binary means that it's just a bunch of numbers, right? And so the misconception a little bit with artificial intelligence, this thing is going to take over and do a lot of things on its own. That is not accurate, right? It can do a lot of things on its own, but a human has to enable it to be able to do that. So let's go step by step. So as I said, this is a repository of large language model. It's just a place where if you have a large language model, you want to post it to the community, you can go there, upload your files, and make it available to everybody. What are large language models? They are numeric representation of a language. And by the way, I'm defining things here in the simplest term I can. So some of the definitions are not mathematically accurate, but they give you the sense of what they are. So as I mentioned, there are a bunch of numbers, and every word within a language is represented by a number, in fact, by a list of numbers, and these list of numbers are called vectors. But in any case, imagine that you have a word like apple, and there is a numeric value associated with it. The trick, however, is that you have to represent the word differently depending on the context. So, for example, if my question is, how does that apple taste? Obviously, most likely, I'm talking about the apple, the fruit. But if I say, what is the stock price of Apple today, I'm obviously referring to the company. And so these numeric representation have to take into consideration the context of when, how the question is being asked, and the context in where that particular word is being used. There is a difference also between application and large language model, but these applications that use the large language models are basically playing a game, and the game is to predict the next word in a sentence based on the context that is coming before that word. So the magical part of how this large language model, and of course ChatGPT is a good example where ChatGPT is the application and GPT-4, for example, is the model. The magical part of this is that they can sound so intelligent. As you saw in the demo, the system can sound so intelligent, but the whole system is based on probability, and it's based on predicting the next word. If we had to slow down the AI assistant that Tony shared with you, you would see the answer coming in one word at a time. And I believe it's called streaming. And I believe you can see that if you're interacting with ChatGPT, you see the words coming in one at a time, because what's happening is that's how the application is generating the sentence. It's generating one word at a time keeping always in mind the context that comes in before that question. Look, I promise that I'm sharing this information with you, not just for the sake of sharing stuff about AI. There is a reason why I'm sharing this. And the reason is I want you to feel comfortable about the terms, but also what these things can do and cannot do, right? So you can make an educated decision about, yes, I do want to use something like this, or no, I don't, right? So, you know, these large language model, however, you hear the term large language model needs to be trained or is trained. What does that mean? Is if the large language model is a collection of words that are represented as list of numbers, somebody has to come up with this list of numbers to say that apple is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? Who does that? Well, nobody does. The algorithm does that by looking at a corpora of data, right? So when you hear that a large language model has been trained on 1 trillion tokens, right? All the content on Wikipedia, all the content on CNN, all the content on the New York Times. When you hear that it's being trained on that, what that means is that an algorithm has spent the time to understand how to associate a numeric value to the word apple by looking at how the word apple has been used in all that context. It's a monumental effort, and it's a monumental effort that takes a lot of money, a lot of compute power, and therefore a lot of money and time. It's getting better and better. And you see this number here where it says 7B. That means 7 billion parameters. That means how well how much numeric values are being used to represent that word, if you want, right? And the higher the number, the longer the training time for the model. As I said, you know, training is achieved by processing this large amount of content. And this is another important fact. It is possible to customize. Sometimes it's just fine-tuned, but there is a difference. But a large language model to answer question about specific content. So this is exactly what Tony shared with you, right? She shared that she was able to answer content that was specific to a tracking user guide, a tracker's user guide for a port authority. Well, that's done through this process called customization or fine-tuning of the large language model. So I share with you all these things because I want to kind of make you feel more comfortable about the fact that certain truth about large language model. So truth number one is that they can be customized, as we said. You know, you get a fundamental large language model from Hugging Face. It was trained on a bunch of content that you don't specifically know what that content was. You can customize it on your own content, so that's possible. The large language model, it's not going to change itself on its own. This is provided, of course, a human doesn't set it up to do that. A large language model is just a bunch of numbers, right? So I want you to feel comfortable about that, because when they say AI is going to take over, yeah, AI is going to take over if humans are allowing it to take over, or to take some action that would allow it to take over. It can be made answer only question about a specific topic. This is very important, right? It's called conversational scoping. If I'm creating an AI assistant about a particular topic, I don't necessarily want it to answer question about a bunch of other things that are not related. It is not feeding on information on the internet. This can be true or not true. Again, my statement here are related to a large language model that we're just using for our own purposes, right? You can absolutely create application where the large language model is connected to the internet and is getting other additional information, and it's feeding on more information. It is focused on content you provided. You can absolutely make something that is just designed to use your own content. This is a repetition of what I said earlier. It is not designed, it's not going to learn on its own unless the administrator provides that permission. There is techniques called adaptive learning and other things. And it's powerful. It's very powerful. You can see some symbolic reasoning. You can see context detection in the interaction with the virtual assistant. So you can have a conversation and go back to something that you said 2 or 3 steps before. It can provide explanation on how it came to a certain conclusion, can do summarization, it can compare things. So they're very, very powerful, but all the other statements that I made on this slide are also very true. And so they should make you feel a little bit more comfortable that, wait a second, I can create an application, I can make sure that it's safe, that it's compliant because I have control. The only way that wouldn't be the case is that if an administrator, a human, decided to act otherwise, right? And connect it to the internet and allow it to learn on its own, and et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to give you that background because I think it's important that you know what's possible and not possible with AI. And then the rest of the presentation, it's a little bit more about specific implementation. Like, for example, you might be interested in knowing, okay, Diego, how long would it take to create an implementation, right? And it's actually relatively to other projects in the IT industry, it's pretty straightforward. Like a typical implementation, as you can see here, might be 4 weeks of implementation, a couple of weeks of testing, and then you can go live. And then during the live process, you can have a maintenance loop that continuously improve the AI assistant. So I have a polling question right now. And the question is, what events impact most your calendar as an enterprise? And what we mean here is, when you have to decide to launch a project or not launch a project, or what are the events on your calendar, on your schedule that affect that? So it might be something, an industry conference, like I want to have an AI assistant by the next AAPA event, or I can have an AI assistant by the next budget cycle, or the fiscal year, or a new service launch, or maybe we have to wait until a project completion. And I would be interested in knowing what's impacting this decision most in your enterprise. So Liz, just let me know when you think I can move forward.
About 30 seconds more.
Okay, sounds good, no problem.
Oh, I think we're done.
Okay, good. All right. So how do you get the buy-in? Like in any other project, it's very important to be aware of the constituencies, the different groups that are going to be affected by the project, and how to, handle any question that they might have. So we know we all have a boss, most of us. I mean, even if you're a CEO, you have a board, whatever. But the boss will want to make sure that there is an ROI with the project. And so there are a few things that can be done here from this perspective. There are business cases that can be brought forward. There is typically a low risk approach by doing a POC, where people can actually see the benefits of what you're doing without investing a lot of resources. So, but definitely we need to be aware that there is going to be some authority figure that needs to be convinced. The other one is the staff. It's super important to get everybody involved and explaining to them that this is not to replace them. AI is not to replace them, but to help their job easier, faster, so that they can focus on things that are really important for human to be involved with, and leaving the menial task to something like an automatic system like this. But I think that conversation needs to happen, and we strongly suggest always to involve the staff in the training of the AI assistant, so that they feel they are contributing to the creation of the tool itself. The other one is the public. So the public will want to know, and here transparency is going to be absolutely key. they will want to know, number one, that this thing is working. They're going to be very frustrated if you put up something that is not working. But also they will want to know that, hey, if some of my information are going to be captured, how they're going to be captured, where are you going to host them, where are they going to be transmitting, do you need to capture my information? So you really have to be very upfront. And by the way, behind the scene, you can absolutely create completely anonymized system that don't need to know really anything about the person that is asking questions. So and so that's a possibility. And then the media. The media are going to talk about whatever you create. So for them, kind of all of the above are important. They will want to know about transparency, but they will also want to know, why are you doing this? What's the benefit for the public, etc. So we thought that it was important to share this with you based on we've done more than 500 implementation, by the way, in these 25 years of experience. Another thing that we know from an implementation perspective that is important is adoption. So an adoption, can be achieved in different way. One is promoting. I mean, this is really kind of like launching a product. I love this company. As you can see on the right side, there is a picture. They have created an entire persona around the AI assistant called Morgan. They had this stand-up cartoon fold-up thing and everybody knew Morgan, and they started, internally, the staff contributed, and the impact it had on the results were really significant. As you can see here, we have the support tickets. That was the goal for the AI assistant. It's not always a reduction in support tickets goal, but in this particular case it was. And as you can see here, we launched in 2018, and we basically reduced by half the support tickets that came in because Morgan started handling them automatically. Positioning, so adoption kind of related to positioning at the DMV. As you can see here, Visit Service Advisor is front and center. This is their home page. So again, positioning, adoption, very important. And then being aware that even after the implementation process, there is a maintenance loop. These are really live entities, right? It's the best way to think about it is, I'm hiring a new employee. I'm training them on something, and then this employee is going to be very diligent, and it's going to tell me every single interaction that it's having with my audience, and collect the information in a way that I can derive actions from it, right? I will know what people are asking that we cannot answer, so that we can continuously improve the process. And this is why we have this maintenance loop here that basically involves the user interacting with the bot, receiving metrics, having a knowledge-based specialist interacting with the subject matter expert that continuously improves the solution. We have a little bit of a special approach to this. We think that combining, and Tony referred to it very briefly, but we think that integrating two aspects, the deterministic AI, which internally it's known as Albert, right, with the generative AI, which is known as Jenna for us. And so if you think about a Pareto chart of issues that may affect your organization, we want Albert to really be able to tackle the 80%, the 20% of issues that come up 80% of the time, and then leave kind of the esoteric issues to Jenna for processing and resolution. Security and privacy consideration, extremely important. So this is a sample message that is being displayed at the DMV for an application that basically says, look, when interacting with a virtual assistant, don't enter personal information, and they're asking people to agree before they proceed. That's just one way, so having a disclaimer. The other thing is very important to have a platform that is able to anonymize the session, right? So as soon as the session is finished, you can programmatically go through it and say, okay, are there information here that I'm not supposed to store away? Social security number, because what if you have somebody saying, you know, my name is Diego Ventura, my social social security number is 123, you cannot stop that. But what's important is as soon as the session is over, you anonymize it, you redact that kind of information so that what you store away does not have any information. Obviously, compliance, so SOC 2 type 2 compliance, ISO compliance, depending on the field, other type of compliance are important, very important. We talked about conversational scoping, which is really the idea of making sure that your AI assistant answer question about your content and nothing else, so that there are no problem. And then there are benchmarks that where you can measure, right? So there is something called Helm from the Stanford University that allows you to measure the toxicity, the bias of your large language model. And so that's important also to consider. We believe in the combination of deterministic and generative AI, so you can have deterministic part of the AI assistant, our Albert, provide specific answer the way you want them through a mechanism like rote memory. I think polling question, and then I think this is it for the presentation, so we can open it to Q&A. So the last polling question is, who drives IT project within your organization? Is it a CTO, CIO? Is it a business unit leader? So is it more coming from the business unit saying, hey, I really need this? Or is grassroots, like, bubbling up, a lot of people are getting interested in AI, or any other mechanism? So I'll give the usual 20, 30 seconds, and then we'll open it up to Q&As in general.
All right, guys, I think we're pretty good.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Q&A, and I'm going to stop sharing here.
Anybody have anything they want to share with the team? Nope. Nope. Okay. Many thanks to Diego and Tony from NOHOLD and Blair from New Jersey Port Authority for that very timely and interesting presentation. I hope that you feel like you gained something useful from the information shared today. I know I did. If you'd like to connect with any of the NOHOLD staff or Blair at PANYNJ, please reach out to me and I will be happy to get you in touch with them. This concludes our program for today. Thank you for your time and attention, and thanks for Diego and Tony and Blair for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. Look for information coming on our next webinar, which will be April 25th with Momentum. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.